Call the meeting to order by starting out with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start out with any public comment.
Is that your comment?
Okay, no public comment, we'll move down to approve the budget hearing and agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second. I'm sorry. You're right.
Motion by Nancy, seconded by Patty to approve the budget hearing and agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Start out with, this is our tax levy. General operation is 0.7192 mils. The fire is 0.9767 mils. The road is 1.1486 mils. The police is 0.9582 mils.
I'd make a motion that we approve the tax levy as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion by Pat, second by Nancy to approve the tax levy as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the 2023-2024 proposed budget. Our revenue, our governing body is 677.448. Police is 119-587. Roads is 141-854. Northwest tract is 600. Street lights is 40,000. Fire is 139-350. Our expense, governing body, 189,700. Supervisor, 11,900. Clerk, 21,450. Board of review, 26,555. Treasurer, 22,950. Assessor, 38,200. Election, 13,500. Building and grounds, 125,820. Cemetery, 6,000. DPW, 153,300. Streets, 40,100. Totals of $625,575. Total for police, 79,000. Excuse me. Road, 141,854. Northwest, 600. Streetlights, 25,500. Fire, 147,40. Crystal Sanctuary Sewer District, revenue is 335-600, expense 365,100.
Question on the sewer. Did they change the amount they had budgeted for that survey up to the correct amount?
Yes, and that's why they're over the revenue. Just putting that new under,
What they got, what do they have under? I'm not finding it.
right there. Professional contractual services is 35,000.
So really, they went more than
Yeah.
Gotcha, thank you, Pat.
They have the money in their account, so
Right.
it's not an issue, but.
That's my only question.
Under, so sticking with sewer, land rental revenue, what is that?
It's, the hay, the farmland where it's irrigated and the ground out by the road and around by road.
About how many acres is that?
So, under the pivot, and that to the south, I think it's around 100 acres. And I'd say that around the road is probably 20.
So we're only getting $2,000 a year for 120 acre rent?
Yeah.
What's land rent going for
That
around here?
don't, that out there, the sewer, under the pivot is so cheap. Because you don't have no control of the irrigation.
Usually irrigated ground is valued higher than
But-
non-irrigated ground.
But that's when you can control it. So if we get 14 inches of rain this summer, they still gotta get rid of water. And they'll flood your crop out.
How often does that happen? Who rents it?
I rent under the pivot,
You rent it?
under the pivot,
Okay, is there a
No.
document that reflects that?
but I rent it.
Yeah, like
Yeah, they
that,
got it, they set, I didn't set the price, and then the Amish rent along the road.
They,
If I-
they can't consume anything out of that either, can you?
No, it's gotta go for feed, you can't sell it
Yeah.
to the elevator or,
but for feed, that's a substantial benefit, right?
no. Cause they'll kill my hay crop about every 3 years.
So once every 3 years.
And you can't put corn, you should rotate it, but
Mhm.
you can't because they'll just kill it. They wash the nutrients, it's like up dirt, they wash the nutrients right down.
That just really seems a little out of whack to me.
So total between what the Amish and we pay?
I pay $19.50 a year.
So the Amish pay 50?
$50?
No,
for
I think
20
they pay
acres?
1,000, so I don't know where that's.
Where's that at?
Well, so for here it says the land rental revenue for last year was only $717.50. And they're recommending another just 2,000 for next year.
I don't know, I'm pretty sure the Amish pay 1,000, I think. And it should be $29.50.
Well, if they're paying 1,000 for 20 acres, and you're
But they
paying
don't-
1950 for 100
They
acres,
don't
like,
get no water.
does anyone else get a chance to maybe farm that? Like, that's a township property, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Seems a little conflicty to me, that's all.
They put it up for bids back when it was at the old town hall.
So it's never been up for bid again.
Before me.
No. I think, was Bill Powell maybe, no, it would have been, Charlie Bray, the supervisor.
20 years ago?
Probably.
Close, yeah.
We've been here 10 years. Yeah, maybe not that long.
Just seems like there should be a yearly disclosure statement or a chance for other people to rent it. Somebody else might think it has more value, and it seems to me a missed revenue opportunity. An allowable revenue opportunity.
Well, they set the price and, like you say, you can't sell it.
But your cows eat it, right?
Yeah, but there ain't many guys around with cows in. Most of them are cash crop farmers.
But it has a dollar value.
Could we suggest that they maybe look at that again? You say they said it, so you're talking Kevin is your administrator sets it? or-
Yeah, Kevin, well, Bob, I think, or Scott was the last one, I think.
Right, he was there before.
I think maybe something needs to be added to the regular agenda at maybe a later time. What do you think?
Well, it seems a little sticky.
with you, they came begging me to farm because they couldn't get no one else to farm it.
Is taken into account here is our recreation project. No, that's 23 budget. This is not what I'm looking at. Do we have our stuff that, the park monies that are going to be repaid by the MNT and RF grant, are those earmarked somewhere? And also the compactor money?
No, because the only thing that's in for the park project, because we originally had budgeted, what was it, 100,000, 150,000, so that was in last year's budget, and we've used somewhere here. Recreation project, we've used 72, so there's still 86, that's why we budgeted 86 there. On the recreation project,
Oh.
under governing body.
So that's of the initial 150, but we've got another 150 to get to 300 to be paid back, correct? Because it's a reimbursement grant? So there's gotta be another 150 going out before we get that back from the state, is that correct?
Yeah, and it's not budgeted because we have the money in the account, and since it's reimbursed back, but we can always change that. So this needs to be changed, you think, to
I think it would make it cleaner probably.
how much, what do you want it?
Well, since we need to pay out 300,000 to get paid back, we've got accounted for 150 and the 86 there, it would be another 150.
Calculation on the length of time it's gonna take them, is it gonna be within the coming budget year that will be completed, or will it
It
take?
should
longer?
be, it should be.
Well, we've got several areas with money in them, so we cover that.
Right. But it just wasn't showing up in the budget anywhere.
One of the things that, Matt had told us is you really should show that where you've got the money for that, especially when you're applying for grants. Show that it's part of, it's set aside for this particular purpose.
Okay.
Matt, well, looks better, he said.
So would we show that under revenue, or? is it-
Well, no, it's something we're gonna spend, it's appropriation.
And I think some planning needs to be broken out of the general as well if we are going to pursue re-upping the 5-year plan and applying for grants. We need to have some planning money to make that happen the way it's supposed to. Not taken out of, but noted that this is what this is for.
Another question, Kurt, this one's going to you. We've got a sale of fixed assets possibly of 35,000, and equipment under the DPW of 42,750. Are you gonna buy another truck?
So you're to buy a truck.
I think they've got one ordered
Sewer
now.
does, yeah, but we.
Sewer does, yeah, we
We
do.
would order it, typically, would order it in September and have it by December. I mean, that was pre-COVID.
Yeah, and then the price differentials went different, and the last time we talked about new truck was where are we gonna be at the price, cause we might not do this again, where are we at on the price?
Well, the new one Kevin's getting's what, 39?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I'd just like to throw out there, at some point in time, could we keep the truck a little bit longer?
That's what I was gonna say, is it really
You
cost
know?
Well, it was when it was cheaper.
And it was, and I.
And I don't know,
understand
like, the new ones, I think are gonna be up to 50,000, I
Right.
think.
that, even for us, probably.
But if we're getting $49,000 out of it,
We don't know that, though.
yeah, right, we don't know that, but typically,
If it still makes sense, but if
Yeah.
that price differential is greater than what it is, it's not gonna make sense anymore, and I think we need to figure that out.
right.
Just saying.
But
You
they
can
don't
leave
come
there
out
and
with
look at it.
prices
You
until
know what I was gonna
September.
do with that. Just to pick on you.
out of revenue and expense, equipment expense?
Yes, that has to, come from everyone. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
We got until June 30th to pass this budget.
Oh, we pass it tonight, don't we?
Typically we do.
Yeah.
I guess I can say we can leave it there, but let's look really, really closely.
See what you know when we're called.
I agree. Make the
Yeah.
commitment.
And we'll probably know more about it when they try to sell one of theirs, what kind of money it's gonna bring.
There you go. True. You know, I know you're staying with, because it is hard to predict. Gym rental, it was really up last year, and I don't see people not wanting to rent that gym. You know, we're being conservative that we might only get that much. Interest and dividends, we're gonna get a lot more if we stay with Huntington, which is not a problem. It just causes other things on my end, which is a lot of mileage. And, you know, we need to look, and we're gonna have to do it next month, we need to look at the CDs
You
again.
say if you're gonna do CDs,
Yeah,
that's gonna really,
right.
And maybe once we decide on the CD, we can always come back and revise the budget. I mean, you can change it now,
Right.
before we adopt
No,
it, but.
I'm just
I mean,
pointing some things out
the
that we can
budget,
look at, yeah.
Budget's
That's fine.
just
Sure.
kind of a guideline, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Also, Pat, I know you said something to me about cemetery and possibly running out of space and possibly needing to
Yeah.
buy more land. Is that accounted for in here?
No,
Okay.
no. I wouldn't anticipate that would probably be something that would happen this fiscal year. It's just something we need to move forward on, I think.
And pay attention to.
all right.
Okay.
Do you happen to have, any kind of count of how many times the gym actually is rented per year?
I could come up with a number. Don't, but
Just to know how much it's utilized and how much folks are here, and, yeah, that gives us something to kind of plan off of.
Well, the church uses it every Sunday, right? And then karate uses it how many times a week, boys? Heavy during holiday time.
Yeah, and then rentals and birthdays and people, yeah, and the number of how many times the gym gets rented out, not by the regular folks, because we see them every time, but the one-offs, how many one-offs do we have?
You guys have no more questions right now?
That's all mine.
I'll open it up for citizens' comments. John?
15 days ago, I stopped in and talked to Patty and requested, and thank you very much for providing all of this information for tonight, but I specifically also asked for park project numbers.
that's available, I thought that said for the regular meeting, so I got that copy
Oh.
for the regular meeting.
Awesome. I guess then my question would dovetail into looking at, I'm used to QuickBooks. I've spent many years using QuickBooks. So from my perspective, it's easy to make accounts, which here are departments and or GL numbers. And I don't even see in the budget a department or a GL number for the park project. which I feel, and this is my opinion, that the park project should have its very own one, so when you run an accounting report, you know what's,
803.010 is recreation project.
Under governing body.
I'm sorry,
803.10,
which page, please?
page 2.
About halfway down in the.
Okay, so recreation project is just the park project, or that is any?
That's what I've been using it for, is just the park project.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that clarification. I have also, in prior meetings at one point or another, mentioned that some things don't look good, and maybe they're good, bad, indifferent, but they're opaque. Kurt, that's a bad look with the rental property. In my opinion, we have rented farmland in the past. I don't know the specifics, but it doesn't sound right that this has not been public knowledge in the past. Not knowing all of the specifics, the amount of income sounds not right. And I believe, in my opinion, that this should be talked about every year. Like when we rented land in the fall, we were presented with a contract or a bid from the renter that we would approve. And I feel that the township should have that presented to the board so the township knows what's going on. My opinion, my comments. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Kurt. If anybody checked the deed restrictions and stuff for the cemetery, I thought at one time that that field that's being farmed around the back and the south of the cemetery, you could take more of that property. I thought when it was actually set
Crystal
up,
Cemetery?
it was set up that you could expand into that as needed. I don't know if that's sure. I don't know for sure or not.
They bought at one time, they bought some more ground to the west. But I think they got that fence
They
up.
think so,
Yeah, I think the rest of
Just,
them
I
green.
just thought to check it
We're
and see,
checking it
because
out.
it's that's a possibility that you may have property there that you're not using. The other thing, one of the things that was talked about was the sewer district property being township property, and that's not technically right. It's sewer district property, so people outside the sewer district don't have any ownership of that property. It's the people that pay the sewer bills that actually have the ownership of it. So everybody that's in the sewer district is who the ownership is. I believe the deal with the rent, the sewer district, the people that run the sewer district would have to come up with a rent policy and then present it to the township board to be approved.
Okay.
Um,
Can I make a comment to that?
Yeah.
When I've looked online at the Montcalm County map that shows you parcels and ownership and tax base, it lists Crystal Township, it doesn't list the sewer
Yeah,
district.
and I don't know how that can be, because
We looked at a property that's adjacent to it, which is why we noticed it.
the reason I say that is because the township, the money that bought that was sewer district money. And if you don't live within the sewer district, you've never paid a dime to anything to that property. I mean, it's paid for through our sewer funds, and the original grant that put it in was paid back by the people that had to pay to put the sewer in.
So is the sewer district adjacent to us and completely independent, or are they a part of us?
Well,
They have their own tax ID number.
Right.
That
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
They were, at one time, we were just the overseer of it.
Right.
And I think part of it's still that way with Duck Lake, cause it ain't paid off.
So then Duck Lake's the overseer, or we are?
No, we are
We
the
are.
board.
you guys are,
Because the road's still up.
The Drain Commission has us be the overseer, and that's the way it was in Crystal until it was paid off, I
so
think.
it's paid off. Then Scott did all the paperwork to get that,
John,
get
the
their
next,
name off that part of it, but it's still on Duck Lake's site until that's paid off.
next time I mow hay, I'll have you go out and drive across that field about 20 miles an hour. And you'll see why it's cheap.
Okay, but that kind of comment makes me want to say you're still profiting from it, big.
It's rough under my equipment, I tell you that.
Well, but you're still profiting, doesn't matter.
Sometimes I don't, because I bring more machinery out there hitting those.
But that's a chance you
irrigation.
take. That's a chance farmers take.
No.
I don't think I'm wrong.
Most grounds, if you rent irrigation, you got control of it.
Okay,
I don't have no control of the irrigation, I can't tell them when to irrigate, when to not. And they gotta get rid of so much water, some of those trenches will be like that out there. And you pull a mower across that and you'll see what damage it does.
okay, so why do you take that chance then? Because you're getting a good deal.
Cause I'm getting it cheap.
Exactly. That's the part I've got a
But they-
problem
But
with.
they came and asked me, I didn't go to them.
Right, but nobody in the township knows this. This is the first I am hearing about this, and I've been coming to meetings for how many years, Kurt?
Well, I guess the sewer's always just handled it, I got a contract.
That
They
should
don't
be,
come up
that
every-
should be,
I don't come
again,
up every
to
year.
opaqueness versus transparency.
Cause like, hey, you don't rent a field year by year when you got have hay out there.
We rented year by year. Our adjacent neighbors in South Haven rented year by year.
Well, I do all my other ground, but not when I got hay.
Okay?
I think it's something that needs to be discussed with the sewer
Yeah.
department. You know, you can't come to any answer tonight.
Well, and there's not an answer. I am just voicing my concerns.
Right.
And Kurt, this is not a personal thing. This is a township thing.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to sound like I'm attacking.
Any more public comment?
I have a question, it's not budget related, but cemetery related. It seems to me a while back, there was a gentleman who came and sold the idea of him, putting all the cemetery information online.
Well, it's all on computer, it's not available online,
Ah,
it's,
okay.
he did put everything into a software.
So that's something that people have questions, they come to you for? Thank you.
Probably the Burke Cemetery is the worst one because we don't know all
Please don't ask me about Burke.
of them.
When will it be on the website so that they can peek at it?
I'm not sure. I'm making sure that our records that coincide. You know, the records that Roger kept were different than those records. And so I'm trying to take the time to coincide the two together now, since it's been, what did you do it, 2 years ago?
I think longer than that.
Yeah, it's been a
Long
while,
time.
yeah, it's been a while, so, but it's something I can work on.
Can you take that on, or should we look at having a sexton?
So I'd love for you to have a sexton.
Okay, any more citizen comments?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Patty, second by Nancy, we adjourn at 6:30. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, one down. One to go. Yeah. Time to go get my other folder. Oh, I gotta keep that one here.
What about it?
Gotta keep that one here. I'm gonna need it there. I'm gonna need it when this is the next one.
Right?
I don't know, there's so many of them, Alicia. I can't even.
Playground.
Right.